Hello, this is the second video in a 7-part series called How to Know God, a Practical Guide to Enlightenment. This method is a variation of the Essene model for achieving oneness with God. It also utilizes the modern sciences of neuroplasticity and heart-mind coherence. And so this is phase 2, and it begins. In order to move beyond the ego mind, we need to come to an understanding of it and its mechanisms. As one Swami or another has said, you cannot move beyond a thing if you do not know it. So, in order to move into our higher, larger, connected self, we need to know the ego-mind self. The following method will form a basis for understanding as we, in subsequent phases, develop a practice of mindfulness. We will begin to see how our actions and our very state of being are dictated by outside forces when we are in ego-mind. And as such, we will later learn how to reprogram ourselves to respond from higher awareness. So now we take a searching and fearless inventory. And for this, we will actually take pen and paper out and write it down. It begins by listing resentments and will consist of 5 columns. In the first column, we list the person, institution, or principle that we have a resentment towards. In the second, we will list the reason that we have the resentment. The third column is what this resentment brings out in you. I will pause here for an example. This may or may not be an example from my inventory. Column 1, my older brother. Column 2, his controlling behavior. Column 3, anger, though there usually is more than one. I encourage you to go through the entire inventory using these 3 columns first, and then return to the top of the list and complete column 4, and then back to the top of the list for column 5. If it flows better for you, you may do it all the way across, but you can always come back and add more to the list later. We search the past, we put everything that comes to mind on the list. For the third column, some inventory suggests using the 7 deadly sins. This seems to be a good place to start, but don't limit to these. Put whatever arises, whether it be sadness, grief, sense of betrayal, or disgust. Whatever you feel, columns 1 and column 2 bring out in you. In column 4, we list how we react to the feelings in the third column. Going back to the example, my anger at my brother's controlling behavior makes me rebellious in my actions. It causes me to treat him in a mean manner and causes me to ignore him when he gives suggestions. Again, I find it easier to move all the way down column 4 and search through my behavior pattern when they arise in these situations. For column 5, focus on each aspect of the previous 4 columns and ask yourself what, at the core of the resentment, is the fear from which it springs. Sit with it and meditate on it. Find the fear. I could trace each of my resentments to a core fear. My first sponsor gave me a list of 6 core fears, and I will pass them on. He also told me not to limit myself to these 6, to add whatever I identified the fear to be. The 6 core fears are: 1. Fear of not being good enough or less than. 2. Fear of not belonging or not fitting in. 3. Fear of being found out. 4. Fear of not getting what I think I want. 5. Fear of losing what I think I have. 6. Fear of the unknown. As I said, this list is a good starting point, but the important thing is that you identify what fear, if any, sits at the core of the resentments and behaviors you have listed in the previous columns. Back to the example, my resentment towards my brother and his controlling behavior. The fears, and there are usually more than one, the fears I trace this resentment to are not being my own person, which traces to fear of being less than, and fear of not being in control of my life, which traces to fear of not getting what I think I want. So this is the process. Pray for your higher power to reveal all the things you need to list on the inventory. Be thorough. Put everything on the list that arises, no matter if it seems too trivial or too immense. And don't strain yourself in the process any more than is necessary. There will more than likely be things that arise later that you did not recall in the first inventory. This is natural and perfectly acceptable. Those will be dealt with in their proper time. The next step of this phase, and I will begin by imploring you not to skip on this aspect. We take our list and we confess our shortcomings to God, to ourselves, and to another person. That's correct. We expose our darkness and we bring it to the healing light. Of course, on my first inventory, there were things I didn't fully want to admit to myself. I just wanted to glimpse them and bury them back where they belong. Having to air my dirty laundry to another person forced me to come to grips with those things within myself. So I sat down with the person I had chosen to assist me, overcame the initial gut wrench, and spilled it out. Once I opened my mouth, my past misdeeds spilled out in a torrent. When I was done and I was leaving the person's house, I noticed almost immediately that I felt physically lighter, as if I were floating. The blockages in my energy field, at least most of them, had been removed. I was vibrating at a more rapid rate. I had been quickened. I had to come to an understanding of why I did the things that separate me from God's perfection. I had to trace them to the fear at their core, so that as I move forward in my journey, I can shine the light on them and choose not to react from fear, but respond from inner guidance. And I had to read the entire list, every item, every column, to appear. An important aspect of this step is choosing the proper person to whom to reveal our shadow side. The criteria for the person to choose are trust and understanding. Some suggestions are a doctor or psychologist, or a closed-mouth friend. A clergy member would also be a good choice. Again, trust and understanding are key. There should be no judgment involved by ourselves or others. We are cleaning house. When done completely, without holding back, cleaning is miraculous. We have come to a better understanding of the limitations we place on ourselves in being controlled by our environment, and have begun to feel real relief from the things which have kept our consciousness stuck in the past. In the next phase, we learn how to release being controlled by outside forces and begin to learn the mechanics of operating from higher mind. That's the end of this phase. I will post a link to the website where this information is posted if you'd like to look at it and read it. So until next time, namaste and happy stepping.